Welcome to my faction guide for Rebels. This video provides my recommendations for prioritizing certain Rebel characters over others in different stages of the game, and gives you a snapshot of where they can be obtained. The characters listed here are roughly in order of one's ability to have access to them. This will vary a bit by player. I've highlighted the names of top recommendations for the earlier portions of the game in green, and recommendations for waiting later on in yellow. I've done the same for each type of energy or store, so you can look down a column and see the top and secondary recommendations that way too. Rebels help you to complete the Tenacity mod challenges. Just as importantly, they enable you to unlock Emperor Palpatine, an excellent leader for Empire and Sith teams. To get Palpatine through his special event at 5 stars, 6 stars, or 7 stars, you need 5 Rebels at 5 stars, 6 stars, or 7 stars respectively. The Rebel faction is also one of the largest, most versatile, and most powerful in the game. Furthermore, certain Rebels can help you to unlock Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, there are lots and lots of options here, but I'm going to make this simple. You have 2 top priorities. Number 1, and this is perhaps your top priority in the entire game early on, is the Phoenix Rebels. Hera, Ezra, and Kanan, with 2 of the 3 of Chopper, Sabine, and Zeb. And number 2, your other priority is Rebels who will help in other events, specifically those who are Jedi to get Grandmaster Yoda, and Scoundrels for the Credit Heist event. The Phoenix Rebels have terrific synergy under a Hera lead, and they could be a leading team for you in most aspects of the early and mid-game. While not quite as powerful in the very end stages of the game, a Phoenix squad is still useful at that point in territory wars, and they're needed for a bonus in territory battles. A full Phoenix team of 5 is also necessary to unlock Grand Admiral Thrawn later in the game, and Thrawn is superb on almost any team in the entire game. So basically, Phoenix characters can do double duty in helping you unlock Thrawn as well as Palpatine, and with some of them also helping you to unlock Yoda. Plus, all 6 Phoenix characters are pilots in their 2 light side ships, Ghost and Phantom II, which are also needed to unlock the ever-dominant Chimera capital ship later in the game, and they're also solid ships in their own right. Furthermore, Ezra and Kanan as Jedi are also helpful in unlocking Grandmaster Yoda. So these 2 can actually help to unlock 3 special characters, 2 regular ships, and a capital ship. So they are super important, along with Hera, who's the only Phoenix leader. Now between Zeb, who's on the next screen, Chopper, and Sabine, you need 2 more to get a full Phoenix team. Most will advocate for Zeb as the 4th choice, followed by Chopper as the 5th choice, with Sabine as an option instead of Chopper. I like Chopper because he can taunt, and relying on Kanan as your sole Phoenix taunter makes Kanan extra vulnerable. A bonus for Chopper is that he also synergizes nicely on droid teams. Sabine is available much earlier than Zeb, but I'd skip her and wait for Zeb, whom you can start to get quickly at level 28 when you unlock the Galactic War store. Galactic War currency is the easiest currency to accumulate in the game, whereas you'd be pretty constrained by your Cantina energy and regular energy, which you need for Sabine, throughout the game. Zeb also provides a protection boost that Sabine doesn't help bring, as well as helping to sustain your team for longer in battle. While you wait for Zeb, you can be pretty successful with Old Ben or another character who synergizes with other Rebels in the meantime. Eventually, you'll need Sabine unlocked so you can activate the Phantom II ship, but that can wait quite a while. Among the non-Phoenix Rebels, who can also be used to obtain Emperor Palpatine, as I just mentioned, I like Old Ben, because he's a great tank for Rebel teams, holds his use throughout the game, is available early, can be used to unlock Yoda as well as Emperor Palpatine, because he's also a Jedi, and is eventually required to unlock the super awesome Commander Luke Skywalker. I also like Stormtrooper Han, because he helps with the Credit Heist event, and he's also specifically needed to obtain Commander Luke. Lando also makes my Rebel list because he's available very early, he's a powerful attacker, and like Stormtrooper Han, he can help with the Credit Heist event because he's also a scoundrel. Eventually, you'll need Farm Boy Luke to unlock Commander Luke Skywalker, but he's relatively useless otherwise, so you can wait to farm him until you've unlocked R2-D2, who's also required for Commander Luke, and that will take a little while. Princess Leia is also a very powerful Rebel character, and if you don't get around to getting Lando by the time you hit level 28 and unlock the Squad Arena store, in other words, if you went for other credit heist characters instead of Lando, then you might want to go for Leia instead. She's a real beast. Princess Leia is also required to unlock Commander Luke Skywalker, so you'll need to get her eventually anyway, but you really don't need to rush. Biggs Darklighter is perhaps the most used pilot in the entire game, so eventually you will need him for his ship, but he can wait a little while since ships won't happen for a little while. Phoenix, Old Ben, and the Scoundrel Rebels are higher priority rebels when you're in the early and mid games. Now, if you decide for whatever reason to leave most of the Phoenix characters until later in the game and go with other rebels instead to unlock Palpatine, which I don't really recommend, then you'd want to get Biggs earlier along with Leia. In that non-Phoenix scenario, I'd put those two, Lando and Stormtrooper Han, under an Admiral Ackbar lead. Now, Ackbar is a strong rebel leader, and he's also needed to unlock his capital ship, Home 1, which will eventually be required 3 times per week for the Shipbuilding Materials Fleet Challenge. Wedge Antilles is also a great non-Phoenix rebel lead, and he is a powerful ship, but he's not available nearly as early in the game as Ackbar is, and Wedge's ship is not quite as essential, so Ackbar's a higher priority. But you will need 5 rebel ships eventually to obtain the Chimera capital ship, so that will be a key reason to farm Wedge. So overall, look at all those icons at the top that rebels are needed for. Mods, credits, 3 legendary characters, a legendary ship, and a hero's journey character. So rebels are super important. Concerning the other rebels, I'd avoid most of the Rogue One rebels until very late in the game, as their characters largely only help with 1 bonus in territory battles. Chirrut Imwe is great, with Baze Malbus and Jyn Erso also being solid, but Chirrut and Baze are not available till much later in the game, and you'll have maxed out plenty of other rebels by that point. As for their ships, you will need one of the 2 Rogue One U-Wings and their crew members to unlock Chimera, but again, that's pretty late in the game. I'd avoid Pow and Lobot as they're not that strong and they don't have ships. Now, as for much later in the game, eventually Hoth Rebel Soldier, who's shown on this page, and Hoth Rebel Scout, shown a bit earlier with the first group of rebels, will be needed to get bonuses in territory battles, but I'd wait until very, very late in the game to get them, as they're not nearly as good as other rebels, and you really won't use them anywhere else. Ahsoka Tano, Fulcrum, and Captain Han Solo are solid rebels, but they're also not available until relatively late in the game, and by that point, again, you'll have plenty of maxed out rebels and won't really need them. And you'll have other priorities by then as well, like Sith, Night Sisters, and Imperial Troopers. The remaining rebels are not farmable. Rebel Officer Leia Organa can only be obtained through territory battles. However, you'll definitely want the other 3 rebels: R2-D2, who requires an Empire team to unlock, Han Solo, whose character shards can only be obtained through the heroic pit raid, that's the 7-star Rancor, and Commander Luke Skywalker, who can only be obtained with Old Ben, Stormtrooper Han, Princess Leia, Farm Boy Luke, and R2-D2, all at 7 stars. That's my Rebel Overview guide. Hope this was useful. Let me know below, and I hope you'll watch my other faction guides.